Hi everybody, welcome back to another Impact and Influence. Today I am thrilled to have the guys with us from LJ Hooker Property Centre in Brisbane. Welcome James and Graeme, how are you?
I'm good, Carly, how are you?
Very good.
Fabulous. I'm really keen to share your story and find out a little bit more about both of you with our listeners. An incredible business that I've watched from the sidelines and been so incredibly proud of what you've achieved and how you're doing things. Recently had your kickstart, which was awesome. So thank you for having Regrowth up there and a part of that. I might start with you, James. Prior to LJ Hooker Property Centre, what was life? Where were you? And how did you get to be where you are now?
Yeah, so thanks, by the way, for your presentation at Kickstart. It was really, really good, as always, with you. But yeah, I left school and I studied a valuation degree at uni and was always going to do that. And then Dad, for a few various reasons, decided to, the opportunity came up to buy this real estate business, and he was involved in real estate a bit in the development side. So I was always looking to get into it, and me being, with the real estate background, with the degree at uni and that sort of thing, he kind of just bought it. So we both didn't really have a choice, really. We kind of got sort of put in here, but yeah, we kind of really had no plan at the time. We didn't even really know what we were doing when we started, to be totally honest. And then for probably the first 2 years, we just just did whatever, really. We didn't really have a plan, and then we realized that you kind of got to really step it up and sort of grow the business really quickly. And so that's what we did. So we started with a few ideas, and it kind of just expanded from that, really. So yeah.
I think one thing for our listeners today is, guys, you're going to learn from these lessons and how to expedite the growth of your business. But these guys are doing some really incredible stuff. Graeme, what was your story to how you ended up working within the business?
Yeah. Look, I'm 6 years younger than James. So when Ian bought the business 9 years ago, I was still in school. And I was trying to do an electrical trade, actually, which I did for about a year after school. And then I just decided that wasn't really for me. So I went to TAFE and then went to uni for a bit, and suddenly realized, well, I always knew they weren't going to be for me, but I thought, what else does someone who's 20 do? So, or maybe less than that, actually. Yeah, 18. So then, I was at home one morning sleeping in, and Ian burst into the room and told me I'm not allowed to sit at home to do nothing. So he started helping a sign guy hit in the signs. And over time, sat on the front desk, did the marketing, did the contracts. And then a few years after that, I said to Ian that it's a bit boring. I'd like to be an agent. And we might get into that later, but our business is built on the fact that our family doesn't sell. So we had a bit of a tiff about that. So then I started working pretty much for James, a bit like his PA in a way, just to alleviate some pressure. And over time, that's just developed into sort of being a dynamic duo, looking after the sales team together. Yeah.
And it's probably a good segue into talking about your business. But before we start going into the sales business and what you probably do a little bit differently, I think it's good for our listeners to compare apples and apples and get an idea of what you've built there. Could you give us some overview of the context as to your business and performance and size?
Yeah, so we have about a very large sales team of about 40 real estate agents, and then we have a sales associate department, which is about 5, an admin team of about 25 sales support people, because that's a big thing for us. And then we've got property management as well, and there's about 20 people over there. We sell about just over 1,000 properties a year. So, it's about 90, 100 a month. And we list about, probably about 100, 150 a month as well. So, it's a pretty big operation, and it certainly is never quiet, but I'd rather be in this position where you're busy doing productive stuff rather than busy worrying about where your next listing or where your next sale comes from, which we're fortunate not to have to worry about too much in here. So, which is good.
I also think we'll try and get you back on camera in a minute, but I don't want to lose momentum. So you guys fiddle around with your tech in in the background, but I want to keep talking about that, the sales agent not having to do much and the support. So that's a big admin team. What's your ethos around your role versus that of the sales agent, and how important has that been with your lead generation and scale of both top line revenue, but also recruitment?
Well, I think it works well for both parties, both sales and management, really, because as you would know, Kylie, being a sales agent now is highly complex. There's a lot more to do than there was, 5-10 years ago even, and also running a business is much more complex. So the fact that we have that separation and we can both areas focus on each other's jobs means that we both able to do what we need to do and do it well. So that's really the main difference, really, is that we're able to just support them. Our whole goal is just to support our sales team 100% of the time, and it works well because we do not have any listings. We need to, in a pure business sense, rather than the excitement of watching them grow and all of that, in just a pure business sense, if they don't do well, we don't do well. So that's why the dynamic works really well. So our whole day is about looking after them. I also look after the admin team, and Graeme looks after the sales associates. So it's slight difference there.
Ask about that, how that works, differentiation in your roles.
Yeah, so I really don't have too much to do with the sales associates, and I look after the admin team, all their monthly one-on-ones and all that. But just on a pure business sense, the fact that there's that separation that we don't list means that they have to do well, and we make sure they do well from our resources, and from everything that we do is all geared to make sure they do well.
Tell me, Graeme, what's been the biggest learning for you, coming in? You were talking about, you were on the tools as a Sparky, you came in, Dad's like, come on, you got to do more than this, and you came in, you're like, great, I think sales looks good. And your learnings around that, and how that's changed for you.
It's definitely, well, it just sort of happened by accident, really. This all, like James said at the start, at the beginning of this, we didn't really know what we were doing, to be honest. But with it, probably in the last 5 to 6 years, we've really just reined in. James and I's job roles are very clear, and we know exactly what every support person is meant to be doing. And that's one thing that we live by, in a way, is we say that we live and we learn. So whenever there's not an issue, but whenever that, in business, you're presented with problems regularly, especially when you're dealing with a, office the size of ours, 85 staff, it's going to happen. And we always look at those as opportunities. So we learn every single day. James, Ian and I meet on a weekly basis, and they go for a number of hours, and we go through all of our staff, all of our admin, all of our trainees, the whole business, and just really look into those areas on how we can improve. Because like James says, our business is built on the agent's growth. Our customers are the agents, they're not the public. And everything we do is with the focus of growing their businesses. And I suppose in the last couple of years, the proof's in the pudding with the agents that we have here now.
And tell me, something we've heard a number of times from both of you is, in the first couple of years, it was very much by accident. We were juggling, trying to keep up. Was there anything in particular for you guys that probably concreted when you did pivot, or go, that was the turning point for us?
Yeah. Oh, and we think about this a lot, and we have put it down to our business plan. So really that was the game changer for us. We started recruiting about a year before that, but it was probably we probably didn't have anything really to show them that was too different. But we went to a training session, which we did. We still do that. We go to as much things as we can. And we saw a really, really good business plan. You've all seen those one sheets where you've got to have your appraisals and all that, but ours is so detailed. It has their goals, it has their listings, their appraisals all each month. So they know what to do each month, and it has their stock pipeline, their current stock, and a little chart at the end about where they're exactly at in that year. So we started doing that with them, and then it became a lot more formalized, where it was each month that happened. And then what we found is that some months they didn't weren't where they needed to be, so then we needed to do some more marketing. And then marketing sort of became a whole area as well, the agents' prospecting plans. So then we started formalizing prospecting plans for them, but as they don't do admin or that sort of thing in this office, we then took more and more people on to manage these prospecting plans, and then it just grew from there. You had graphic designers, you had we've got a systems manager now. It all just sort of really came from that business plan, and then we're really at a point now where as long as the agent really wants to grow, we can almost guarantee that we grow them to where they need to be, because we know what they have to do each month. They've got a prospecting plan that is nearly 50 points long, that covers all forms of technology, all types of homeowners. So we're in constant touch points with all of them across database, across listings, and across their focus marketing area. And then that's where it really changed, and that's where we can really went out and recruited, and then put these people on these plans, and then it just grew from there. And the amount of people that are coming is just quite a lot of agents joining us now because of that.
I think that attraction, where you've got people coming to you, is obviously you're able to clearly provide things that are different. It's great to hear you talking about prospecting in the way that you are, because we often talk, or the better officers talk now, about how your technology is another associate within your business. How important has technology been in that growth? What do you leave to the agent, and what do you take care of to harness that technology to generate the leads?
Well, technology has been really important. Like you have all your CRMs, you have Rita, and all of those, which most people have these days. We really have this view that we try anything, and if it doesn't work, then we review it and we can always take it off. We have, though, actually, and we were talking about this when we met, we have actually pulled a lot of stuff back. You get to that point where you feel like you need to have it because it's the trendy thing to do. And if you don't have it, people think that, why don't you have it in your office? But we, at the end of last year, did a big audit of everything. Okay, all the technologies that we use, and the core aim of that was, how many appraisals does it deliver for the sales team? Okay, and what we did from that point on is we then cut about half of it, and we didn't just that wasn't a cost saving measure. That was so we really could put the money where it works, and then we put that into the sales associate side of the business. So there we've got a whole sales associate team now working with the agents, and it's delivering a massive amount of results. They can do prospecting, buyer follow-up, people that have to buy before they sell follow-up. That's where a lot of our resources have gone in the past year, and that is really, really useful for the team.
What I'm hearing is more and more specialization, but know the ROI. So know the return on investment for your subscription, and what is driving the appraisals, which is actually interesting. When we talked about opens at your Kickstart, is having a look at what are the activities or things that we do every day, and managing the ROI. Graeme, I'm curious in your journey, because you've both, by your own admission, not sat in lounge rooms and sold real estate. And it's always a great debate as to who can manage, train, coach, and keep salespeople accountable on that they have to have done it. How hard has that been for you guys, or has it been easy because you've got the time to work on it?
Yeah, it's a good point, because I think some of our competitors would say, when they talk about our office, that our family hasn't sold property. They haven't been there and done that, which is a comment Ian and I get every now and then when we go out recruiting. But it hasn't really held us back. I think in the last 18 months, we've recruited like 22 agents. So,
sorry, could you repeat that for our listeners?
I think I'd have to count, but it's probably between 18 or 22 agents in the last 18 months.
What's involved in onboarding? Like 22 agents into a business in a 12-month period is massive.
Well, we've got, like James said, we're highly organised, and I think the key thing is because we aren't selling, we have the time. James spends the time with the admin every month. We actually spent an entire Friday a few weeks ago, James and I, getting each admin member in one at a time, going through what do they do when they onboard someone, and really just honing in on that person's experience. And we now actually get testimonials from any newer agents about their onboarding experience compared to that of other offices. But to answer your first question, I mean, selling property, it is a skill, but really I believe, and this is just my opinion, I could be wrong, the skill is actually getting the listing. You can be the greatest salesperson on the planet, but if you can't make a phone call and nurture a relationship over a 12-month period and then have a quality listing presentation to win that business, then your sales skills are pointless. So with our sales associates since January 1 this year, those 4 people, they're 5, have booked over 200 appraisals for our agents in the office in a 2-month period. I've had all their one-on-ones today. One of them's booking on average 30 appraisals per month. And 5 months ago, he was a plumber. And he's come into the office and listed 7 properties and done 133 appraisals in that period.
Extraordinary by any measure. What do you think has been key drivers? So onboarding is one in particular.
Yep.
2, systems.
Yep.
What else has achieved those numbers? Because I know that there's so many people that will be listening to this going, I've had someone with me for 6 months and they're generating 2 leads a month.
You've got to be, and like I said, we live and we learn. So we're pretty, not savage, but we're pretty, tight with it now. If they're not performing, they will go. And I tell them that in the interview phase. They actually have to go on a trial period before they get offered the job. So they go on a few day trial period where we just basically put them through the ringer.
This is the sales associate.
Yeah. This is the sales associates.
Yeah.
And then they go on 3 months probation. But also it's just about taking your time to find the right people. I can train people to produce these results if they've got the mindset and the hunger. So that's the only thing I look forward in the interview phase is their mindset.
I think it's incredibly important, that mindset and dedication and that discipline. I think sometimes we just let things go on too long, and the behavior we walk past and the activity we walk past is what we allow. But when you say we make a decision pretty quickly because we set the expectation at the beginning, how quick's quick? So if I started with you tomorrow as an associate and I wasn't performing, would you either re-onboard me or you've set it up in such a way at the beginning that you just free up my future? What would that look like?
That's in that 3-month period, we have a month. Well, I receive them every single month for a one-on-one, but they also have basically 3 dedicated training sessions per week. And I'm aware that everyone performs at different levels, so I'm not, completely unreasonable. But as long as people are trying and they're improving based on the feedback that we give them, then they can stay. But if they are getting this feedback and not improving, then they'll go, no, within 3 months, but usually we know within 4 to 6 weeks.
And I'm going to keep focusing on this because it's something that I see is a big opportunity because it's not done well in our industry. If I am, so the gentleman who's been a plumber and come in and is performing really, really well, in that first 3 months, what's the sort of investment in time, in accountability or support with him or her in onboarding?
Yeah, well, it is intense. And I think that comes back to the fact that we're not selling. James runs the admin and I look after the sales associates, but I see them twice a week for a training session at 7:30 in the morning. I see them every single morning on our team balcony and we have a bit of a discussion about the previous day and today. And then I go and check on them 2 or 3 times per day. I'm reviewing all of their results. I'm coaching them. They call me outside of hours, which is fine. I like it, but you're 100% right, Kylie. I think it is a flaw in the industry. I was told a few months ago that 9 out of 10 people fail in their first year. And I don't think that's because of the people trying. I think it's our industry offering some decent training. I think most people just get, put into an office and sink or swim scenario. Whereas if you find the right people and give them the right time and the coaching, then they will succeed.
Yeah, I think that's probably the number one takeaway that I want everyone to get from this interview today. We sometimes walk into offices and there's plenty of principals that don't even meet or have an initial inducting or onboarding time. And obviously, depending on your functionality, I understand that. But I think just if everyone listens to what the guys are saying today about the time and investment in developing those people, so it's not a costly recruit, making the decision pretty quickly, but investing the time up front for the results later. Okay, some rapid fire questions now. I can't believe we've been on the phone for half an hour. So I'll go rapid because I'm mindful and respectful of your time. To both of you, James, who's helped you with your pathway in the industry, or who's been a mentor for you?
There's a lot of people that have been around. There's lots of trainers that I'm good friends with, but there's lots of people that are in the industry. But the best things that I've found are like just talking to people. All of the really big things are actually like the business plans all came unexpectedly from the smallest training session where you think you will get nothing from. I think it's just about taking as much information from everybody as possible and then putting it and deciding whether it will work in this business or not. So it's not been one particular person that's, just been guiding us through it. It's like a lot of people at a lot of different times that you just take bits off and implement what you think will work in the business. It's so true, isn't it, those 1%ers, but where you are in your business life cycle and your journey as to what is relevant. I think too many times we go to real estate conferences or training sessions and we try and copy what other people are doing rather than applying it and integrating it into our business for what's relevant for where we're at. Graeme, for you?
Yeah, I think because it was so accidental for me, and agreeing with what James says, we try and take as much as we can and implement it where it's effective in our business. But honestly, I think it's Ian and James because of the freedom that they've allowed me to have and the trust. People often get a bit funny when we say we work as a family, but it's actually gone really well for us. No fights or... No, look, we have our disagreements on things, but it's healthy. Yeah. And the fact that Ian just lets us get on with what, he never questions what we do. And that says a lot about him as well. A lot of business owners have very large egos and it's very dictatorship. But the joke now is that we're trying to get him out of business, so, which is it all, of course. But without that sort of trust, we couldn't do what we do and, be where we are.
How important is that to be able to give each other feedback, have robust conversations, but you've got each other's back? Yeah. I think there's a lot of learning in just those couple of words that we've just spoken about there. I have 2 questions for both of you before we finish up, if it's okay. I'm always curious, and I always ask this question because it tells me a lot about speed and success of business, but everyone's always got a bit of a different view on it. Is it better be perfect and a little bit late, or just good and on time?
Oh, probably the second one, good and on time, but it is actually something I've been trying to work on with myself. I tend to sometimes overthink things and want to make sure that everything is perfect. Even reading an email, sometimes I'm probably a bit like you, Kylie. If someone wants me to follow up with something and they email me, I'll put reminders in to follow up with it. Nothing worse than things not getting done. So I'm trying not to overthink as much as that. I find that if you can just get it done, things a lot quicker if you don't overthink. But it's definitely getting things done rather than absolutely perfect or on time. Yeah,
I would say being on time and good. Just because, my world, if you're late to an interview or something, I already don't want to hire you because I just think that's not a good place to start. But it's always good to be accurate as well. We do try and do everything for our agents to the best of our ability.
It's actually an interesting part of our business. We do, as you guys know, mystery shopping. Phone people that have transacted with you and ask about things they could improve in, and just time and time again, punctuality comes up around, turning up to appraisals or listing presentations or open homes. And when you think about how basic that is, but how much it irritates our customer, it's certainly something to focus on. There was a great Netflix series that was on last year. I think it was a law show, and it said, if you're early, you're late. To a meeting. So probably or more so looking at who you're meeting with and what's their perception of being on time or early or organised. Just to finish up, guys, we always love people that listen to these interviews learn, and we save them time from our mistakes and our learnings. Is there something that you've screwed up along the way that you would say to anyone that is trying to scale their business or starting out? Learn from us, and what was it?
Probably don't grow too quick. there was a time about 5 years ago where we were just growing so quick, and it got a bit ahead of us, to be honest. I think at that time in that year we bought 3 offices, including their rent rolls, and that we grew extremely quickly during that period. And then you are trying to catch up and put systems in on the back end of that. And then there's also, the cost side of things about growing really quickly as well. But then you could also, this might not help the listeners, but you can also overthink things. You got to grab every opportunity that you can. Those offices, for example, came up all at the same time, and that was one of the reasons to change our business as well, merging them in. So you can, but just, don't have to grow so quick that you put yourself under so much stress and the rest of your team under stress. That's probably what I learned back in the day.
I'd probably say similar along those lines, don't reinvent the wheel. I think we got caught up, like James alluded to before, of thinking we have to do everything that comes our way. And then you get caught out with 7,000 subscriptions to things that aren't working. And it's not until you sit down and audit, which takes time, you got to sit there and actually do it. And when you're as busy as we are, it's hard to do that. But real estate is simple in a way, whether you're an agent or a business owner. So if you look after your staff, support your staff and provide leads for your staff, that's probably where our core areas focus on now. And, you don't need to go and get all the fancy new tech, I would say, to do that. You just got to have the right people supporting your team and, just nurture relationships and do it that way. So, yeah.
What a wonderful place to finish. Look after your people or somebody else will. I think, that goes for the retention of your team, but also, retention of your customer. Guys, as I said at the preamble, I've just loved watching your journey and what you're doing for business and how well you're dealing it. So on behalf of the industry, thank you for what you're doing and the lessons learned. And thank you so much for sharing with our listeners today.
It's okay. Thanks, Alex.
Harley.
Thanks.